Hello and welcome to another episode of What Helen Reads. I'm Helen and today I've got another Mafia Romance Monday video for you. So today's video I'm going to share with you some of my favourite kick-ass heroines in Mafia romances. Now a lot of Mafia romances I find the men are extremely alpha and dominant and possessive and protective of their women, and oftentimes these women are forced into arranged marriages, have very little say in what happens and are really expected to be stay-at-home mafia wives and just there at the beck and call of their husbands. So while a lot of the heroines do put up a bit of a fight and have a bit of backbone and ultimately support the hero in what they're doing, I find that very few of them are actually what I would describe as kick-ass heroines or someone that you'd want to look up to. But there are some exceptions and I wanted to share my thoughts with you today. So the first book I'm going to talk about today is Ivan by Sophie Lark, and the heroine in this one is Sloane. Now this book is book one of the Underworld series and it's Sophie's first Mafia series, I believe. Now in this one we're following Ivan, and he's the head of the Petrov family Mafia or Bratva in Moscow. And then we have Sloane, and the reason why I picked her as a kick-ass heroine is because her job is actually kick-ass. She is an assassin for hire. So she is extremely capable and skilled and is one of the best assassins for hire kind of on the scene. And she gets a job to go and kill Ivan. So somebody wants to get rid of the head of the Petrov family Mafia, and in some ways this is a suicide mission because no one can get near him. He lives in a heavily guarded compound in Russia, and so therefore really she's kind of being sent to her death. But as I said, she's kick-ass, so she's not going to back down from this challenge and also the cash, and she's never failed at a mission yet and she doesn't see why she's going to this time either. And basically Sloane manages to make her way into Ivan's compound, into his house, gets all the way to his bedroom and is nearly in close enough proximity to inject him and poison him, but he does wake up and discovers her and captures her. And at first he's going to take her down to his basement to torture her to find out who's hired her. But Sloane is not going to be a pushover and she meets him head to head and definitely gives him a run for his money. And so the banter between them is great. The chemistry between them is amazing. And what I really love about this is that ultimately they end up working together to go against Ivan's enemies, and she doesn't sit back and let him come up with the plan and execute the plan for himself with his men. She absolutely gets involved, is in the thick of all of the action and drama that takes place, and can totally give as good as she gets and handle her own. So Sloane is a great character. She's really strong. She's Ivan's match in every way, and it's a great, not only a love story but also a mafia romance filled with plenty of action. So I couldn't not mention Sloane from Carnal Urges by JT Geisinger, and this is book 2 in the Queens and Monsters series. Now in this one the hero is Declan and he's head of the Irish Mafia. So we first met Sloane in book 1 and she's Natalie's best friend, and the banter between them is absolutely brilliant. She almost steals the show in book 1. I mean, I love Natalie and Cage and their romance and I actually preferred it to this one. I know this is a lot of people's favourite, but the first book I actually prefer slightly over this one. But Sloane plays a big part in that and why that first book is so good. The banter between her and Natalie is amazing. Her personality is fantastic. She's definitely got a troubled and difficult childhood, but it's made her into the person she is today. And she has a saying where she looks in the mirror and she says, "Remember who you are." And she won't back down for anyone. She is, completely capable, competent, an amazingly positive and headstrong heroine, and absolutely a role model, I think, for a lot of young women. And even though it's a fictional tale, obviously in a Mafia story, she has got some absolutely fantastic qualities. Now in this one, at the end of book 1, basically, Declan kidnaps Sloane, and he kind of sort of comes to regret it really, or she's going to make him pay or make him regret kidnapping her. She gives him a run for his money. Absolutely, very similar to Sloane from Ivan, who I mentioned before, is absolutely Declan's equal in every single way, meets him head to head, completely wins over his men, and you know, it's just basically a force to be reckoned with. So again, highly recommend this book, this series as a whole, and yeah, Sloane is an amazing character. She's absolutely not intimidated by anybody or anything, won't back down, and cannot be broken, and that's what I absolutely love about Sloane's character in this. So the next heroine I want to talk about is Stellina Dane, and she is a heroine from Becoming His, which is by Amy Van. Now this is book 1 in the King family series. It's quite a long book, just over 500 pages, but don't let that put you off. It is an amazing read, and this heroine is absolutely brilliant. Now the storyline in this one I think is slightly different from other Mafia romances, and I absolutely loved it. Did not see it coming, but it works so well and positions Stellina's character as absolutely a kick-ass heroine with you know, with ultimate strength. So in this one, the hero is Derek King, and he is the head of the King crime family. He's got a couple of brothers as well, and together they kind of run this kind of mafia / crime family. And Stellina is a chef, and she's recently moved to the city where Derek is based, and they just happen to bump into each other at a nightclub. They have instant chemistry together. He takes a shine to her and they start dating. Now he very much wants to keep Stellina out of his lifestyle, and especially at first as he's getting to know her, he doesn't want to tell her that he's head of this crime family. So for all intents and purposes, he's a normal boyfriend and she thinks he's a normal boyfriend. But things start to take a bit of a turn, and she kind of gets dragged into his world. Now at this point, Derek and his brothers go down to South America to do some family crime business, and while there, something bad happens and he's not able to make it back to the United States. Now, if his enemies knew that he was missing, even presumed dead, because at this point we don't know actually what's happened to him, and Stellina doesn't know what's happened to him either, but she instinctively knows that if his enemies find out that he's missing or even dead, then it means that they'll come and take his empire and he'll have nothing left when he comes back. So she makes the decision to step up and lead this crime family as his girlfriend. So she kind of runs it in proxy, and she pretty much tells her enemies, yep, he's still alive, I'm in contact with him and he's giving me instructions, and that's how I'm running things around here. So she steps up to run his family, crime family, and it's absolutely amazing. She is perfection. There's some really funny moments in here, and one particular scene that stands out where she has gone to sort of interrogate some people that she's taken. They're strapped to a chair, she's in the middle of torturing them, and she gets a telephone call by somebody asking her how to bake a cake, because if you remember, she is actually a chef, and she explains to them over the phone while she's torturing these people, you know, how to make this particular dish that they've asked for. And so it's amazing juxtaposition of how she's a normal kind of, you know, wholesome American girl, teaching people how to bake and make food, and then the other side, she is tapped into her, you know, her criminal mastermind brain, and also her ability to sort of like just torture people and get things out of people without even batting an eyelid. And she wears killer clothes and killer makeup and is everything you want in a woman, but completely takes charge of this crime family situation. So like I say, it is quite a long book, a lot happens. Derek does eventually make his way back. It is a romance after all, but the heroine is absolutely kick-ass in his absence and would highly recommend the read. So the next one I'm going to mention is Den of Vipers. Now this one is very controversial, I think, and people either love this book or they hate this book. So Den of Vipers is by an author called K.A. Knight. It's also another really long book. It's well over 500 pages, and the heroine in this one is Roxy. Now the reason I've kind of included this in here is because I personally really enjoyed this story. It is extremely dark with a lot of crazy things happen in this book, but I really enjoyed it, and I particularly like the heroine in this one. Now, to explain what's going on here, so it's called Den of Vipers, and the Vipers are basically, I wrote down their names, the Vipers are, we have Ryder, Garrett, Kenzo and Diesel. Now, the Vipers basically run the city, and everyone is extremely scared of them, and they are crazy. Think 4 Jokers out of Batman. That's how crazy they are and wild. And then we meet Roxy, who's a heroine. Now, her dad owes the Vipers some money. They come to collect, and he essentially sells his daughter to them as payment. But Roxy is not a pushover. She's a pretty hardened individual herself. She runs a bar. She's no stranger to people coming into the bar and, you know, trying to cause fights and things. And she's more than capable of looking after herself and defending her bar. However, she is no match for the Vipers, and they eventually do come and take her into take her to the home and pretty much keep her prisoner. So she kind of becomes their captive, if you like. But I mentioned earlier it was a bit like a Batman situation and the Joker, because if anybody is like this character, she is like the Harley Quinn of the Mafia world, because she is their match and more. She becomes as crazy as them, as wild as them, as violent as them, a complete and utter nutter, and fits in completely with their fits in completely with their group. You know, it's fair to say that these guys are completely wild, unhinged, they're crazy things happen. This book is also has a lot of kink and spice in it, and so I would absolutely read the trigger warnings. There is some very, very graphical scenes in here. There's also blood play and knife play, and scenes of torture, like I say, kidnap, captivity, non-consensual sex, and so absolutely please read the trigger warning for this one. Like I say, it is mad as a box of frogs. This whole book is crazy and wild, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really, really good fun. I had a great time reading it, and like I say, I really appreciated the heroine because she didn't just lie down and take it. She absolutely rose to the challenge and became one of the Vipers, and if anything, she becomes their queen. She absolutely rises to the occasion, is just as mad and crazy as them, completely fits into their world, and ends up being leader of the Vipers essentially, because they can't say no to her. So we're going less crazy now, and the next heroine I want to talk about is Jess from this book, which is Pawns in the Bishop's Game by Amelia Finn. Now, this is not strictly a Mafia romance, but it is criminal underworld, and when I first read it I very much believed this was a Mafia romance. I will say, if you've not read this one before and you don't know what the rest of the series is, this is book 1 in the Checkmate series. Don't read on ahead, as sometimes I like to do, because it will spoil this one. And I want to say as well, this is my only, this is my top read of 2021. I absolutely love this one, gave it a 5 stars, which is a really, really rare occurrence from me. Now, in this one, we're following this lovely hero here called Kane Bishop, and he is an enforcer, smuggler, and all-round criminal for this sort of criminal underworld in the town that they're in. And he's relatively new in town, but he's been brought in to basically protect his boss. So his one job is to protect his boss, who is the head of this criminal underworld. Then we meet Jess, our heroine, and she is actually a lawyer. She's just a couple of months away from taking her bar, and she works in town. Now, she's got Amelia's Finn's worlds are all interconnected, and so Jess is basically a family member of the local sheriff in town, and she works for the sheriff's wife, Julia, who is basically the main lawyer. So she works for Julia. Julia is very much sponsoring Jess, but she goes to work for her at her law firm, and like I say, she's just a few months away from taking the bar exam. Now, they are trying to bring down this criminal organisation, and they become obsessed with Kane Bishop and trying to get enough dirt on him to basically put him away. And so Jess becomes obsessed with him. She keeps a folder in her bag at all times with everything they know about Kane Bishop, and she decides one night that she's going to go to their headquarters, which is also a nightclub in town. But it's on the wrong side of the tracks. It's a very seedy area, and when she's making her way towards the club, she actually gets dragged into a side alley, is nearly sexually assaulted and murdered by a very bad man, shall we say, and Kane Bishop happens to be in the same alley. He's waiting for a drug deal to go down, and he basically makes a decision, a split-second decision, to save Jess from the man who's about to attack her. And so they start this very strange relationship where she is trying to get dirt on him in order to bring him down, but he becomes obsessed with her and wants to keep her safe. So he's trying to very much keep her out of his life. One, obviously he doesn't want to get caught and go to prison, but mainly he's more concerned about her safety, but she will not let it go. So I put Jess in this one and saying she's a kick-ass heroine because she is not afraid of anything. She is like a dog with a bone. She's absolutely determined to get to the bottom of what's going on, and she's determined to get to Kane, and she puts herself into some dangerous situations in order to unravel this sort of plot or get this evidence that she needs, and not in a she's too stupid to live kind of way, more of a just she's very gutsy and brave, and just won't let it go, and she's determined to make the town she lives in safer against these criminals. And she also makes sure that she kind of upskills herself a little bit as well, and there's even some scenes in here where she goes to the shooting range and learns how to shoot a gun to try and protect herself as well. So I just wanted to mention Jess because I think she is also an amazing heroine, and I love this book. Right, so just one more recommendation, and this has to be my absolute favourite heroine that I've read in the last couple of years, and she is the absolute queen. So of course it is Reyna from Brutal Vows by JT Geisinger, and this is the Queens and Monsters series. All of the women in this series are absolute queens, but she is the queen of queens. If anyone is royalty, it is Reyna. Now, in this one, we're following Spider, and Spider is second in command of the Irish Mafia, so works for Declan, and he has not had a very good time in the first 3 books, and he comes out of book 3 absolutely devastated by what's happened, and as a result he has sworn off women, and he goes to Declan and says, arrange a marriage for me, because I don't want to get emotional about another woman, and arranged marriage is the way to go. So he's actually arranged to be married to Reyna's niece, and who is part of the Italian Mafia, and she's an Italian Mafia princess, and Reyna is a widow. Now she's known as the Black Widow really because her husband is dead. So Reyna was married, her husband is dead, and everyone believes that Reyna killed him. So everyone is really scared of Reyna, but as Reyna will tell you, she did not kill her husband, and we'll just leave it at that. But she did not have a very happy marriage. She is absolutely not sad that her husband is dead, and she does not like men at all. And when she finds out that her niece is arranged to be married to an Irish Mafia man, she is not at all happy, and she kind of sets about making Spider's life a bit of a misery because she's trying to prevent the wedding. Nevertheless, the wedding is going to go ahead and go through, and ultimately Reyna is the one that steps in and ends up marrying Spider. This does not make her a pushover though. Reyna is biting and cutting and lives up to her reputation as the Black Widow. She has got absolutely amazing banter. If you thought Sloane's banter was good in Carnal Urges, Reyna's banter is even better. She is filled with vitriol and comebacks, and just really clever responses to everything that Spider does, and she absolutely drives him crazy. But she's also a very strong woman. She's not going to back down, and even when she ends up marrying him, it's on her terms. And but absolutely Spider's the one for her, and I think what happens between them is absolutely amazing. They've both got a lot of hurt that they need to work through. So if you like your heroines really, really feisty, full of ice and fire, and you know, Reyna, I won't spoil what happens in this one, but Reyna is the ultimate queen of queens. I promise you, if you read this one, it won't disappoint. So there you have it. That's 6 of my favourite heroines from Mafia romances, because they absolutely kick ass. They're all queens in their own right, and I absolutely love each of their characters and how they absolutely met their heroes step for step, match by match, and truly were the queens of their monsters. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, please subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time. Oh, dip, dip, doop. Boop. Jeez, my teeth are really hurting. So there you have it. There are my top 6. So less crazy now and a little bit more. Okay, so the next character I'm going to talk about is a heroine from a book called Becoming. Oh. Don't let the size of the book put you off though. I mean, it does tend to put me off. I don't really like it if the books are really, really long, but it is really, really good. In some ways it felt like a book of multiple parts. It could have been broken down into more stories. That's not the point of what you're trying to say here. So the next heroine I want to talk about is Stellina Dane, and she is the heroine from Becoming His by Amy Van, and it's book 1 in the King family crime